Kentucky Tobacco Prevention Cessation Program grants to encourage and support tobacco-free environments and tobacco treatment service integration in behavioral health organizations. Each grantee will share their journey where they have faced challenging terrain along with tremendous gains. Each grantee is now seeing growth of the seeds they've planted. And we know that tobacco treatment aids recovery for those living with mental and behavioral health challenges. Additionally, tobacco-free environments set the stage for success for those who want to stop using tobacco. So all four grantees have been working towards changing the norm from the assumption that tobacco use should continue during treatment to the norm of tobacco-free environments and integrating tobacco treatment provided along with recovery from substance and mental illnesses. So we, Be Well, have been walking alongside these four grantees and providing tailored technical assistance to each one. And we're so proud of their progress and are pleased to provide this platform today where they can share these successes. So I'm going to start with first introducing Brandy Gilly. And Brandy Gilly is from the Laurel County Health Department. She's among the health education staff. And I guess she heads up the health education department. So Brandy has worked for the health department for over 20 years, demonstrating exceptional commitment and expertise in public health. So I'm just going to hand it over to Brandy.
Thank you, Dr. Cooley. I'm going to try my best to stay within the few minutes time frame that we have to speak here, but we really wanted to share our journey because our journey did not go the way that we had initially planned when we applied for this grant. We felt like we had established and built a foundational relationship with our behavioral health partners because we had a previous grant, which was a federal grant called the Laurel County Opioid Response Consortium. So we had brought together many of our behavioral health partners in the county and in the region to work on that grant specifically. And then in addition to that, we have our local health coalition, which is the Laurel County Health in Motion Coalition, that's been in place for about 12 years now. So we thought, wow, we've already built this foundational relationship. And so we are going to be able to really take off and work with these recovery centers to get some additional tobacco-free policies created and implement some tobacco cessation programs. So our initial goal was to jump right in to our 5-year strategic plan to focus on the promotion of these environmental strategies for tobacco-free policy and implementing those cessation programs. So during the first year of the grant, we've received technical assistance from Emily and Heather, Dr. Cooley and their team the whole time. But one of their recommendations in the beginning was to do a tobacco attitude and smoking attitude survey with our behavioral health partners. So we implemented that about halfway through the first year of the grant, and to our surprise, we received a significant number of responses that told us that there was a lack of readiness to adopt tobacco-free policies and offer other cessation services within those programs. One of our centers, we were told during a health coalition meeting, we've talked about this a few times during our TA sessions, but we were told during one of our coalition meetings that we actually had a recovery center that were providing the rolling materials for their residents and their clients to roll their own tobacco. So we were quite shocked about that. We did not realize that there was that barrier there. So we had to refocus our grant, initiatives. And with the help of Emily and Heather, we were able to determine how to go back and kind of not really start from scratch, but where can we go and make some successes where we felt like we had been a failure at that point. So some of the things that they recommended that we do was to increase our education to those centers on best practices regarding tobacco use and behavioral health. So a few of the things that we decided to do, we of course promote any of the BH Well training opportunities that come available. So we started promoting those with our local health centers. Everything was still virtual during that time, so we would send out emails to let them know that there was a seminar or a workshop or a kind of a lunch and learn coming up, so that they would have the opportunity to join those and get more information. We also developed educational packets, and we mailed those to 12 behavioral health treatment centers that served Laurel County and surrounding counties. Some of the information that was in those, we provided resources for best practices for tobacco cessation in recovery and the benefits of providing those tobacco cessation services for their clients. We also shared research-based successes of incorporating tobacco cessation and billing information so that they could bill and get reimbursed for those services that they were providing. We also worked with BH Well to promote the tobacco specialist certification offering that they have. I think they do that annually. So we reached out to some of our behavioral health centers to offer a grant to them that would allow them to send someone to get that certification at no cost to the center. And then in an additional continued effort to increase professional education, we actually collaborated with our community partners, and we offered a professional conference in May of 2023. It was a 6-hour CEU conference. It was in person at our local community center. We had 2 sessions during that day on tobacco use and vaping, one of which Dr. Okula did, and it was wonderful. And that presentation that he done was specific to tobacco use and behavioral health settings. And then we also allowed our partners during that time the opportunity to network and highlight some of the services that their agencies were providing. Some other efforts include we've been trying to promote and implement Quit and Win. So if you are familiar with Quit and Win, it's a wonderful program to kind of get the ball rolling and get those centers and those clients thinking about tobacco cessation. We also have increased our participation in our local coalitions. So one of our coalitions, the Health in Motion, has a SUD subcommittee. So we have got a local behavioral health center that helps us sponsor those subcommittee meetings. We do a social media campaign regularly to address the importance of tobacco prevention and cessation. We've had opportunities to speak and participate in events and health fairs that have been sponsored by our local behavioral centers. And right now we are in the process of developing an electronic professional resource guide to help strengthen our referral system and increase awareness of those available services throughout our community and our region. So we've learned throughout this process that obstacles can become opportunities. We were so frustrated when we saw the results of that readiness survey, and we thought, well, I mean, why even continue on with the grant for the next 4 years? And Emily and Heather were very positive. Dr. Okula joined us for a few meetings, and they were like, no, you're not failures. You just have to take a step back and reevaluate and, really think about the educational piece of this for those recovery centers. So we feel like we were able to bridge that readiness gap, and we are continuing to see those relationships with the local behavioral health centers grow, and we hope that we can continue the momentum and have more of those centers actually have some tobacco-free policies and continue to implement tobacco cessation programs.
Thank you so much, Brandy. I appreciate the often hard work of addressing any behavior change when it seems readiness is not quite there. But it's good that we have best practices and tools to also find ways to improve or move people along the step of helping them become a bit more ready. And everything that you've outlined, that the incredible work that Laurel County has been doing, from the education offerings to the coalition building to the social media to even considering Quit and Win, I think will really go a long way in moving the readiness as long as we just hang in there. So great work in all that you've done.
Yeah, and thank you all for your assistance and your expertise that you shared with our team. So it's been very beneficial.
Thank you. And I know there's a quick question in the chat. Where can we find the readiness survey? So I will let probably Emily or Kylie respond to that as well.
Well, I think that's Brandy's survey. Is that?
Yes, so we actually developed a readiness survey that we had built one initially for the opioid response consortium. So we kind of tailored that one more toward tobacco. But I do believe that Emily and her team have one that is readily available to you know, to anyone that needs to use one that may not have one already created. So. But I'm happy to share ours as well.
Yes, and I can follow up with you and share ours as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will go on to the next, the next department, the county, and this will be with Solveig Guthrie, and she is a population health strategist for the Franklin County Health Department. And she joined the health department in May of this year, but I tell you, she's been really busy and quite active since she's joined. So I'm going to let Solveig talk about some of the work that she's been doing with the Franklin County Health Department and behavioral health organizations.
Thank you so much, Dr. Colley. Am I able to share my?
Yes, you should be able to share.
All right, please let me know, Emily, if it's being displayed as it should.
We're seeing it needs to go into presentation
There it
view.
is.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Well, yes, so we received the Franklin County Health Department also received the federal tobacco grant. This was in 2020 when we were granted $25,000 per year for 5 years. And the initial focus was to identify local entities that would collaborate, and we would be able to form a task force that addresses tobacco use in mental health facilities. So we reached out, or we did this after gathering all the information about what are our the facilities that are working in the behavioral health world. After having this list gathered, we reached out through our MAP, which is our wellness coalition, and we were able to set a specific goal, which was to reduce tobacco use among those utilizing mental, behavioral, and substance abuse facilities in Franklin County, and that was added to our community health improvement plan. So that's how it all started. However, and similar to the experience that Laurel County just shared, we faced many challenges. One of them being that all the efforts were diverted in the second year to mitigating COVID, specifically through the providing vaccination. Therefore, all of our programs were put on hold, meaning all of the efforts for this grant were also placed on hold. And at that point, we considered just returning the money to the state funders and discontinuing with the grant. At the same time, we connected with Heather from BHWell, and through this partnership, we were able to assess again that there were ways to move forward, and we decided to continue. So what we did was back in 2022, which is still the year 2, we distributed a tobacco survey to all our 24 local behavioral health facilities. This tobacco survey, the intention was to just reach out to all of them, let them and ask them how could we help them to provide the tobacco cessation resources and information, and how could we just partner with them. And in year 3, we received all of the survey closed, and we were successful. Out of the 24, we had 2 that had manifested interest, and both of these facilities are listed here as Espero Health and Panacea. And one of them, particularly Panacea, they were very interested, so much so that they completed the tobacco treatment specialist certification. So now we have one facility that has a TTS certified person. And so that was regarding the first survey that we had, and that was the conclusion of that initial survey. Additionally, we gathered a focus group so that we could administer, we could create and administer tobacco cessation messaging. And we did this through the Franklin County syringe program, to our harm reduction and syringe program. All of those participants there, and the participants and some participants of the Recovery Festival in Frankfurt were able to choose between 10 sample tobacco ads that these ads they use people from our region, so from the state, and they were able to choose between these 10 sample tobacco ads, which ones were the 2 that they preferred. I did mention that, but UK is the one that provided us with the samples, and these were the 2 that were the most popular. So the idea was they chose which were the most popular. They chose which messages they preferred, and those were the 2 messages that we decided to display in a billboard. And this is not the best picture of the billboard, but it's the only one that we have. So that was, they were displayed, both of them. I have here the first one from Johnny Bench. That was one of the billboards that was displayed. And that puts us in year 5, which is where we are currently. We are now shifting. We have relaunched a survey just recently to all of our behavioral health facilities again, to see how else can we help. And we are still gathering data from that survey, and we will we'll have a better idea of where to and how to continue once we have all the data back from that survey. Like I said, we already have interest from particularly one facility so far, but this was just launched last week, so we're still waiting for all of the responses. And we have initiated a partnership with a local high school, particularly with their drama club. BHWell, among all of their resources that they have created comics, and one of the comics is the one that it's displayed there, the dimensions. It's targeted to teenagers, and this particular one talks about substance use disorder and how it affects the brain. It's done in a very lay language, and it's very easy it's very engaging and fun, because it has superheroes in the comics. So we have added these as well. We have implemented the idea of creating a play from the comic. That's our partnership with the high school, is that the comic is going to be converted, and it is being converted as we speak into a play. Right now, they are in the first stage of creating the script, and the play will be ready in spring 2025. So next year, at the conclusion of the grant, we'll have the play. And again, so that's where we're at right now. We have had challenges as well, and the efforts have been, changing and evolving. But I would say overall, we're at a better place than what we were when we started. And
Thank you.
with that, I am done. I think I am within the time.
Thank you so much, Salve. That's a lot that you've accomplished in such a short time. But I'm really excited about the partnerships you've developed, the interest in the tobacco treatment specialists, as well as the exciting partnership with the drama team. We'd love to see our comic book come alive shortly. But thank you so much. And now we're going to go on to Northern Kentucky Health Department. And I'd like to introduce Casey Baker, who is a substance use prevention health educator with the Northern Kentucky Health Department. She joined the team in 2023 and recently completed her tobacco treatment specialist training. Congratulations, Casey. So I will hand it over to you. And just for time's sake, if you have right about 5 to 6 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Perfect. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me share my screen. Oh, it says sharing is not turned on for me.
I'm sorry about that. It should be now.
Okay. Yep, you're good. You are good. All right. Let me get this in the presenter mode. All right. Everything looking good? I think it's okay.
Looks
Perfect. Okay. Awesome. Yes. So I'm Casey Baker, like Dr. Okoli said. We call ourselves the tobacco team at Northern Kentucky Health Department. It's my boss, Marsha Bach, and we just actually had a new staff member, Miss Emily Oler. She just joined about 8 days ago. So let's get started. So like Dr. Okoli said, I've been here for 11 months as of yesterday. So I'm still fresh. I'm fresh and new, but we've accomplished a lot this year. I'm excited to go over it. So I'm going to start. I think it's better to start with the lows and then end on the highs. So starting with our lows here. So one thing that we've experienced, at least in my time before, is just there's some issues with communication sometimes. It's kind of hard to get a hold of behavioral health centers, of course, because they're super busy. They've got a lot going on. And so sometimes we've had some issues with maybe not getting responses to emails or phone calls back. And a lot of times maybe they're not interested in the things that we have to offer at that time. Again, makes total sense. They've got a lot of things going on, but that doesn't stop us. We still keep trying. Another thing that we've experienced some issues with is presentations. So once we have been able to get a hold of some of these facilities, and we've scheduled presentations, we've tried doing some advertising, making sure everyone's aware of it. We've had some low attendance for those scheduled presentations, but we take that in stride. We realize that maybe it's my problem, right? It's not necessarily the client's fault, that maybe we're just not coming on the best day. Maybe we're not coming at the best time. It's just we really want to meet people where they're at. So we kind of take this information and we just try a different way the next time. And the craziest thing here is in that 5-year grant that we've had, we have gone through 6 different staff members in our tobacco team. And so I'm sure many of you all are aware in public health how crucial it is to build those partnerships and build that rapport, especially when you're trying to help these different treatment centers build that trust within you, and really get that policy work started. So that's what really this last year has been all about, is making sure that our team is getting those partnerships built back up and make sure that they trust us and they're willing to speak with us and get moving with those policies. So those were our lows, but let's go to the highs. So looking at our highs here, For policy, this is super exciting. This is happening before me, so I don't want to take any of the credit. But for policy, our team previously was able to implement two treatment center smoke-free policies with North Key and the Pier. And that was a lot of, I know that there was a lot of hard work, a lot of conversations, a lot of meetings. The Be Well team did a lot of essential work in that. And we're super, super appreciative for all of your assistance with that and all of your time that you put towards that. But it's super exciting. So it just shows that this kind of work really it's really doing the job. You know, this hard work, it might take time, but it really actually, there's things that we can get out of it. And then, you know, I've talked about the LOSA presentations, but we have some HAZA presentations too. So just a couple weeks ago, I was able to do a presentation at our Brighton Center, one of our recovery centers here in Northern Kentucky. And during that, I was able to present to about 50 of their clients that were living at the facility and just give them all kinds of information about, you know, vaping, smoking, nicotine use in general, nicotine recovery. Talked about our NRT program that our health department offers, just make sure that they know that there's options and that we're here for them. We also, every other month or so, we go into the Kenton County Detention Center and we do presentations with their substance abuse program clients, so the men and women. And that's always such a rewarding presentation to give. There's always so many great questions. I always love going and doing those presentations. And in addition to the presentations, we were able to complete some tobacco waste cleanups at Brightview and Crossroads Treatment Center. So we were able to, that kind of raise some awareness. Another way to get your foot in the door of showing like, hey, you guys, like, look at all this waste that's, you know, at your facility. Having a smoke-free policy, it might help with this. So that's just a nice way to get your foot in the door with that. And as our other health departments have mentioned, our lovely Be Well team have assisted our team in doing a great survey with our treatment centers. It was such a great survey. Again, this was conducted prior to my arrival at Northern Kentucky Health Department, but being able to look at the results myself, it was great to see. They kind of give you, when the Be Well team gave you the report, they had different levels of showing the readiness for these behavioral health centers. And that was really, really helpful to understand where, again, it's just meeting them where they're at. It's just really important that we're aware of, we don't want to come in hot, you know, we want to come in where they're at. We want to make sure we're just, you know, if we need to just go in there and we just need to say, hey, I'm Casey, I'd love to have a conversation whenever you're ready. That might be the start, you know, where the next person might be like, go ahead, give me that policy. I want to see it. So this kind of survey was really, really helpful to understand, you know, and also what resources do they need? Do they need us in other ways? Do they need us to come in for presentations? Just a really good way to gauge that kind of information. I have a little bit of information on a little report from that survey. So we had about 58 treatment centers in Northern Kentucky at that time. About 48 of those treatment centers responded. We found that there was less than half of those individuals that endorsed a written tobacco policy. There was about a fifth that had a partial policy, and then more than half had no policy at all. So it just kind of showed us how important it is for us to be in there and make sure they're aware and educate on the importance of smoke-free policy. And the last thing I want to mention is we were also able to have some great trainings from our Be Well team. So one of the things, we were able to get connected with our lovely Amanda Bucher at the Kentucky Center of Smoke-Free Policy. And she came up and did a training on air quality testing. That's just another great way to get your foot in the door with a treatment center. We just got the reports back for the air quality testing, and we intend on going over those, reviewing those with the treatment centers, and then saying like, hey, you know, just want to remind you, like, are you still interested in that smoke-free policy? And then of course, like Dr. Acoli mentioned, I'm very grateful I was able to get my tobacco treatment specialist training. Super appreciative of that. But we're just really grateful for our partnership with Be Well and all the resources you provide. It's been super, super helpful for me to really get acquainted with the tobacco world. So we really appreciate your all's help. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Casey. You know, the one thing I keep taking from what you said is meeting people where they are. And that's the way we form the partnerships. And it becomes a mutual service. It's not just us trying to provide them with something, but also hearing from them what their needs are. And that's what forms the partnership. So I would go on to Gary Hall. So Gary is a health educator with the Green River District Health Department, and he leads a tobacco prevention and education program at the health department and assists behavioral health organizations working towards tobacco policy and tobacco treatment integration. Prior to his position at the health department, Gary worked for 27 years with River Valley Behavioral Health, so it's near and dear to his heart. And he served in many roles there, including the director of River Valley Behavioral Health's Regional Prevention Center. So I'm going to pass it on to Gary.
Thank you, Dr. Okole. It's good to be a part of today's event, and we really appreciate the invitation to share. One thing we're going to share a brief timeline of the partnership that we had was with River Valley Behavioral Health. Like was mentioned, I worked there for 27 years, and it was like most treatment programs. We addressed all the drugs except for nicotine. And we would see the clients would be outside having a smoke break, and then they would go inside and talk about different things with regards to alcohol, methamphetamine, and other things. If you'll, Emily, if you'll switch to the next slide, we have a brief timeline on what took place. Of course, it's already been mentioned several times. Of course, was the pre-survey that was done on readiness, and that was done at River Valley in 2019, and 14 community mental health centers participated in that. On June 2020, the next one there, the Green River District Health Department, we received notification that we were funded, and that started in July. So we reached out. On the next slide shows that we reached out to River Valley Behavioral Health, talked to Dr. Lionel Phelps to see if they would be interested in participating with us on becoming a smoke-free campus, as well as a smoke-free inside facility. They were already smoke-free as far as like not allowing smoking inside the building, but they were quite accepting of people just stepping outside and smoking just in the entryways and exits of the building. August 2020, there was a meeting with Dr. Okole and their staff, and just talking about, what they could do for us. And of course, when I first met them, it was by web. We were still involved with the international worldwide pandemic. And so that was a remote meeting, but really enjoyed meeting Emily and Heather and Dr. Okole at that time. On August the 3rd of 2022, there was an introduction to the behavioral health staff to the River Valley behavioral staff. And so once that meeting took place, it was remote, and we met with Emily, with Kaylee Edeline and Brooke Arnold and Ashton Robertson. And so that was a positive meeting. They asked a lot of questions, as Dr. Bradford basically handed over to Brooke Arnold to take a look at having this kind of challenge and change take place. Of course, we'd gone for a while, and so some of the drawbacks was just kind of the slowness to respond. But what I found out is the BHWell staff, they have the patience enough to bend a cracker. I mean, they just really were so patient with us on, the kind of the fits and starts and things that were taking place. But then after that meeting, it seemed to be where we started to pick up speed. And I was grateful to see that. And so we started meeting more regularly with the BHWell staff by Zoom. On November 8th, we had another meeting in the policy work group. March 20th, 23, the BHWell staff actually came to River Valley. And Dr. Bradford, who is a vice president of our clinical outpatient services, if you switch over to the next slide there. Thank you. And she was just really determined that this would take place. We had started a work group, and she was adding and adding more people. One thing that she did add were individuals who worked at River Valley who were smokers. Some of the people kind of had different view about this initiative than what we were hoping to take place. Quickly learned that we needed to hear their opposition. We needed to listen to what they thought would be the fears, their concerns. There were opposition to just the idea that, this may be so difficult to require that we have smoke-free clients and smoke-free staff, that we may actually lose employees, and we may actually lose clients who are coming for services. And still, we pressed forward with that. It reminds me of this saying that that I heard years ago, is that in the middle, all change looks like failure. And we were just kind of wondering, all this work that we've done to this point, is it just going to crumble just because there was kind of a measure of opposition to what we were doing? And they had, rationale, thinking that, maybe this is something that, would be better later. And of course, that's something that we kind of worried about. But over time, when Dr. Okoli and his staff met, we also had one person who was there, and it was Mary McLevain, and she really listened to what was said, and just basically took it all in. We started to see some changes even with the staff who were originally ambivalent or against the idea, and started to think that maybe this is something that could be accomplished. In April through July of 2023, comprehensive policy draft was made. Northkey had a policy that they wrote, and we looked at theirs. We started looking at other policies. Amanda Bucher and Heather Robertson and Emily all were sharing, ideas on how to write that. It was given to River Valley, and of course, they made it their own and had their own policy looked at. It was reviewed by their legal counsel and in-house legal, and also Dr. Wanda Figueroa Peralta. And on August 1st, it was signed and approved and went into effect on August 1st, 2023. After that event of August 21st, 2023, a lot of things were continuing, and I was really excited to see that. There was signage that was placed all over the properties. They have, I believe, 53 different buildings at River Valley throughout the 7 counties they serve. And so those signage was posted on buildings, in parking lots, saying that they're a smoke-free campus and facility. The policy was given to all the employees, and also there was going to be follow-up as well. I started surveying a couple of places that were located, and we did basically cigarette butt counting. And Heather Robertson suggested that we do that just to see if we could have a visual. And so I would take photographs, put the cigarette butts in bags, take pictures of them, and on the first of the month for 6 months, I did that through February 2024, and it showed that there was a marked decrease in cigarette use as time went by. March 2024, River Valley did a 6-month follow-up survey, and to see what people thought about the policy that had been placed in effect. And so it was exciting to see that there had been a paradigm shift. People who were originally against it, started to say, well, this is actually good. And also they added support. They added tobacco treatment training, treatment services. And we had already had a number of their staff trained with TTS, and BH Well and Kentucky's Breathe program gave us some grants for that. And so we were building capacity for treatment. Also, lunch and learns, they decided to do those. And that was exciting just because the lunch and learns, they were inviting people who had quit smoking post the event. And also they were inviting people who were thinking about quitting smoking. And so that was exciting to have a conversation with them. And I attended several of those lunch and learns and learned so much from people who were smokers, how they got started, and also that it was on their mind that they really wanted to quit as well. And also a support group began, and all this was just organic. It just started by River Valley itself, and no suggestions from myself or BHWell. They just started to have these ideas and started to implement them. And also Davis County Treatment Providers, that started again after the pandemic. Boulevard Missions, they are now looking at also going smoke-free. And so the staff who quit smoking have now become some of our most supportive advocates. And one of them who became a supportive advocate was Mary McLevain, and she is just a wonderful person. She is a mom, a grandmother, person who had lived in a home with smoking, just like many of us have. And she made some changes. So I'm going to hand it over to Mary to share her story, how she was involved with all this.
Hello. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I think Gary has said everything pretty much. Thanks, Gary. I think, yeah, Dr. Hammond, Dr. Coley, I think just things that I heard in that first meeting is what changed for me. Just hearing the things that I knew, it was just confirming it. So I knew that day I was done. The support here has been great. River Valley is actually going to open a gym soon, which is I'm really looking forward to. Brooke, I mean, there's probably not a staff here that hasn't done something or played some part in me stopping. I get emotional talking about it, guys, but wow. Gary, you're up again.
Okay. Well, Mary, I know that you just got involved, and I know there was a video, there was photographs of you with messages that you shared, and they've been on billboards in Frankfurt and other places. And like I said, you just had a passion for it, and you just wanted to help. And you just became just a wonderful advocate for all of us, just because you had quit. You also said, "Well, what else can I do?" And there was a lot more that you did do.
Yeah.
So appreciate that.
Yeah, I also do the support group. I do the Kicking Butts support group every other Tuesday here. We've had, and that's also good. There are a few folks here that are actually early on, they've stopped. They're coming to the support groups, and just us having that support from each other has been great. So.
Thank you so much. Every time I hear your story, Mary, I'm so inspired and encouraged.
Thank you.
And Brooke says you got to boast about those 5K runs you're doing.
Yeah, I'm doing another one in 2 weeks. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You're such an inspiration to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Gary, for all your dedication, your passion, and your leadership in many ways.
If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bhwell.uky.edu.